Good morning, everybody. Just recording this because on Monday I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be on my way back from North Dakota. And if you're in Tuesday's class, I may use it with you. We'll see. Kind of make sure everybody gets the same thing. Hopefully, your Monday morning does not feel like this guy's sliding down the road in what I think is some kind of pink Barbie car, possibly. I don't know. So a couple of reminders and just kind of the gist of what you guys are doing today without me around or with me around if you're in the C-Day class. First thing is, if it's Monday morning, you might want to make sure you schedule your flexes, get into the things you need to get into. I will be back on Tuesday. I don't know if anybody owes me a test or a quiz or anything like that. But if you do, try and get in and get those things taken. We're getting pretty close to the end of the year. There isn't too much left. So today we're going to do, note-wise, is we're going to talk about something called the attribution theory and its parts. And it's not extremely complicated. There's a couple of vocabulary words that go along with it that are maybe a little bit harder to remember. But this 2 slides does make for a really good short essay question on a test. So you might want to make sure that you're paying attention and getting the things that you need out of it because that's probably going to be on the test someplace. When you guys get done with this, get this into your notebooks. What you want to do is go to Google Classroom. There's going to be a final social psychology assignment. It's not going to be extremely long. I'm going to give you guys a really short window on this one. I'm going to make it, due this week. So make sure that you guys are, using the time well. And if it is Monday, not annoying the sub too much. Because, that's just the right thing to do. Be smart about the phones and the AirPods and stuff like that. I appreciate it. And, as always, if you have any questions watching the video, remember you can stop it, pause it, rewind it. But it would be a good idea to listen to the whole thing and, get the example. Because, obviously, if I ask a question about it, I'm going to want you to give me an example. So, without further blabbing, here we go. All right, so first of all, sorry for the hideous slide decor. I don't know what I was thinking when I made this. It looks like red crunched up wrapping paper with hideous yellow type on top of it. So if it's visually abusive, I do apologize. So again, today we're going to talk about the attribution theory, or I should probably mention one of the attribution theories in psychology. There are, I think, 3. They all have to do with completely different areas of psychology, period. But it does get a little confusing when there's 3 theories named the exact same thing. I'm not sure why that is the case. Caused me a little bit of trouble in a college psychology class one time. But, hey, that's a thing. So the attribution theory is something that you use all the time. You just don't realize it because it is a very human situational type thing, especially in social settings like school or work or at home. It is literally a universal thing. So the first thing is, obviously, there's a lot of things that play a role in our decision making. We've talked about stereotypes. We've talked about prejudice and discrimination, cognitive dissonance, illusory correlations last week. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance and illusory correlations are, you might want to go back and review your notes a little bit because those always cause people problems. But the way that we really deal with problems has to do with a lot of different things. Your thoughts about a person, the way your attitude is working, the way other people's attitude works towards you, play a pretty major role in the way that you see situations, the way you see people, and just, if nothing else, kind of maybe the way that you interpret others' behavior towards you. And so in this case with the attribution theory, what this is it's a process. I'll give you the book definition and then I'll explain it. It says it's a process by which we form opinions about one another and come up with our reaction/behavior. So that's great. This book definition, that's awesome. If you can memorize that and spit it back on a test, yay, you're great. You made a flashcard. But reality is it's how we react to situations when we don't have complete information. How do we make guesses about why people do the things that they do? And then how do we move forward based on those guesses? Now, hopefully those guesses are educated guesses. I'm going to use the example. I make fun of Jace all the time. We might as well use Jace. If Jace comes in the day after a baseball game, he's all grumpy and moody, and Logan and those guys are giving him a hard time. about the game last night, I'm going to assume either, Jace struck out 4 times or Jace made some error, some big error, some embarrassing error, he tripped, or, there was something that happened during the game that, Jace is ticked off about. Now, that might not be right. Maybe Jace rear-ended someone in the parking lot. Maybe he ran out of gas on the way to school. Maybe he got a speeding ticket. I don't know. Maybe he farted in the hallway in front of somebody. I don't know. But based on the information I have about the social situation that we have in that class, baseball, day after a game, I'm going to assume that situation. And so I'm going to decide how I behave towards Logan, towards Jace, towards the others in the room in that situation based on my educated guess. Now, I could be right and move forward in a correct manner, or I could be wrong. But we all like to feel like we know what's going on. And that attribution theory gives us kind of a way to do that. Now, it's divided into 3 parts, and those 3 parts are on the next slide. Again, I don't think overly complicated, but they are. Sorry, I'm trying to get that glare. I should probably pull the blinds. It's divided into 3 simple parts, like I said, but nothing is difficult about the parts. But then the terms, the name for each part, is I think the part that worries me the most. From a teacher perspective. So here we go. So the 3 parts are the antecedent, the attribution, and the consequence. I don't think consequence is hard, but the other 2 are pretty, they're different. So the way that I try to cheat code this is, I don't know if any of you guys play cards. I don't play cards, but someone taught me this once. When you bet in like a game of poker before you really have a whole lot of information, your first bet is called an ante. It's what you know going in. You know what cards you have. This is before anybody else starts to, put down cards, get new cards, fold, anything like that. Wow, look, I know it's not like I know what I'm talking about. But this includes things like stereotypes and background information. So the antecedent is your information and your beliefs about a person or a situation before the situation even occurs. So, it's the background that, like with you guys, it's the background I have with you, what I know about you, what I know about you in my classroom, what I know about your social situation, who you sit by, who gets mad easy, who's pretty chill and laid back, who can take a joke, maybe who can't, who's been having a rough time lately. It's all that stuff, some of you guys know that I had a dog pass recently. You might, catch that. Some of you guys know that I'm just kind of moody sometimes. I mean, I'm willing to own that. And so, it's the things we know going into a situation about something, like the example I used in the last slide. Jace is in baseball. Logan likes to give Jace a hard time. Other people in the room do as well. We all, generally, I think, enjoy listening to Jace get picked on. At least I hope you do. There you go. Apparently Ryan doesn't know Angie's name in the one class. He knew that she was the girl that wears black. That's his antecedent about her. You've got antecedents about a whole lot of people, a whole lot of situations. That person at work, the person that sits next to you in a class, your teachers. Okay, so it's what we know going into a situation. Your attribution are when something happens that you don't have an explanation for. Okay, somebody yells at someone during a class, but you don't know what's going on. Somebody punches somebody. Your parents come in, throw their keys down on that table or in that bowl or wherever you put them, and instantly start in on you about the living room being dirty, or the dishes not getting done, or the way you parked your car in the driveway. That situation that you don't know, okay? What you do in the attribution phase of this is you take your antecedent, what you know about that person, and you try to come up with an explanation for their behavior. Now, obviously, in some situations, we all go, hey, stop, Mom. I know that the living room is a little bit cluttered, but no one ever said anything about cleaning it up. I was going to get to that, but that's not always what we do. We jump to conclusions. We assume, I don't know, your mom's been having a rough time at work. Let's say your dad, whoever it might be, grandma, grandpa, whoever. All right, they've been having a rough time at work lately. The boss has been on their butt about some deadline, or maybe their work isn't going as well, or a coworker's been sick that works with them. and they come in, chuck the keys, instantly get on you about, the blanket's not in the right spot. There's a plate on the table, haven't dusted, and you're supposed to, I don't know, whatever it is. You, in your head, don't go, this isn't about the living room. Okay, this isn't about the living room. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa had a rough day at work. Boss was on their butt. Coworker was this. Deadlines, extra work, da-da-da-da-da. They're not yelling at me because of the living room. They're yelling at me because of work, okay? That's what your attribution is. I often use the example of someone who sits across the room from you in class, stands up, screams at the person next to him, starts crying, like ugly crying, like, whatever, and gets up and runs out of the room. 2 seconds later, the person that they yelled at gets up and chases them out the door, and we're all sitting here going, what just happened? Well, we're going to take our antecedent, what we know about those people, and we're going to look at the situation, and we're going to make an attribution, okay? Someone's going to walk up to you and go, hey, what happened in psych? I heard blah, 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 went nuts and started crying, and somebody chased after him. And you're not going to want to say, well, I don't know, all right? You're going to come up with an attribution. You're going to come up with a reason why that behavior happened. Now, some of you guys will go, well, I don't really know, but, and then you're going to give your reason, okay? And then the consequence is the final step. That's your response emotionally, physically, verbally, in different ways based on your attribution, okay? If it's like go back to the Jace example. I'm going to tell Logan to lay off Jace, and I'm going to just go, hey, man, everybody has a bad game. Well, Jace might look at me and go, dude, I rear-ended someone in the parking lot. Well, then I'm wrong, all right? But a lot of times those antecedents affect the way we treat people. If you use the example I just gave of a person, I'm pointing towards an area in the room for some reason. I don't know why, like you guys are in here. If a person stands up, yells at somebody, starts crying, runs out of the room, and then the other person chases after, if it's a couple, I'm going to assume that they just broke up, or somebody cheated on somebody, or somebody forgot someone's anniversary. But in that case, I'm going to go, man, it's a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. I don't want to get involved in this, whatever. Now, if it's people that are like usually friends, I might after class go and track someone down and go, hey, man, what happened? What's going on? Are you okay? Blah, 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 blah. And I might be completely wrong in my guess on the behavior. But, the consequence moving forward is kind of what you base your situation on. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa walks in, throws the keys down, gets on you about the living room. You assume they had a bad day at work. So you go, hey, man, if you're smart, you go, hey, I'm really sorry. I'll straighten it up right now. I apologize. I didn't get on that right away. And you just do it, because that's going to be whatever, okay? Some of you guys will try and get into an argument about it. I didn't make the mess, whatever. And that's your consequence. So not an overly difficult concept, but again, concerned about antecedent and attribution. Please try and remember those, okay? It's a difference between a 3 and a 4 on the question, if that matters to you. So I'm going to shut up. I've been rambling on for quite a while here. Go to Google Classroom, get the assignment done, get that submitted. Try not to be a pain in the butt, especially on Monday when I'm not here. I'll see you guys again Tuesday. I'll be back, so if anybody has any questions, there you go. You can always message me. I'm available. So if you get stuck, let me know. Or if something goes wrong and you need me to do this attribution theory thing, I'm absolutely there for you. All right. Well, hey, have a great day. Go Cardinals. See you guys soon.